One. Perfect. Hi everyone. Welcome back to Grit Meets Growth. Today we have Brian with us from Just Roofs and Gutters. Brian has built a strong reputation for delivering durable, long-lasting roofing and gutter solutions. We're excited to dive into his journey, the challenges he faced, and the strategies that have helped him grow his business. Brian, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Great. We'll start with the first sort of question that we ask every guest, which is how did you, like when you were deciding a particular business to be in, how did you decide this particular stream and how did you end up in this stream?
Yeah, great. That's a really great question. It's a long answer. I'll try to shorten it up as quick as I can. But I came from the mortgage industry. My primary business background was back in mortgages. Used to own a mortgage company, and 08, 09, a lot of people know what happened. We had a mortgage crash. I spent some time really trying to find a type of business that could give me the same benefits that I personally had as a mortgage company owner relating to time and money. It was extremely difficult to find something that matched that environment back in that time. It was quite good, and I wound up in roofing just through knowing a few other people that had gone into that world and found it to be uh, a really, really good business because the income is there. Income is quite good in the service business and in construction and things like that. Time is also can be dealt with very well too through efficiency and stuff like that, systems. And when I wound up in the roofing industry, I found that the bar was quite low. If I could apply the same sort of credibility that I needed to have as a mortgage person, as a mortgage broker, to the construction world, I probably am going to be way ahead of the standard contractor that's out there. And my business background had nothing to do with construction. I wanted to apply basic business principles to the construction industry that's missing. Uh, for instance, calling people back, as basic as that is, there's a lot. Most of the complaints that I hear from homeowners are related to, I contacted 3 different roofing companies and you're the only one that called us back, which I think is crazy. You got somebody calling you to potentially hire you and you don't call them back. So some of the basic things in the industry itself were quite easy to step over. The bar was pretty low. Now that's not every contractor. There's plenty of contractors that run their business like a Fortune 500 company and very systematized and organized and profitable in those things, but they're far and few between. And I wanted to take that type of basically focus from, okay, yeah, we go out there and install a roof. If we install it to code, we install it to manufacturer specifications, there is really the idea of quality is already built into doing the roof correctly anyway. So I don't have a competitive advantage by saying, hey, I'm going to build a better roof than somebody else. That's really not true. My roof is properly built, and so are a lot of other roofs. Okay, so that's not a competitive advantage for me. The next thing is pricing. Well, you can buy my shingles at Home Depot. That's the same stuff that I buy. I don't buy it from Home Depot, but the price difference between what I'm paying and what a consumer is paying on the market is not significant, maybe 10%. It's relatively small to a homeowner. So my materials are not better than everybody else's. So I don't have a competitive advantage there. Then the next thing is, well, what about my installation crew? Are they better? Well, I think I have the best installation crews out there. But if I tell you that, every other roofing company says the same thing too. We all have the best. So I don't have a pricing competitive advantage. I don't have a quality competitive advantage. I don't have a labor competitive advantage. I have no competitive advantage if you take everything on the surface. So in understanding that, that's where I realized the opportunity was. If the product itself does not come with a specific advantage, I'm not first in the market, those sorts of things, how am I going to separate myself from everybody else? And I spent a good minute kind of reverse engineering how a project comes off the ground from 0 clients to, okay, a roof is being paid out. the final payment. I took that and I went backwards from an imaginary paycheck because I hadn't sold a roof yet. This is as a salesperson. That's how I started. I'm going to go to the bank and cash this check. So I wrote down on the right-hand side of the piece of paper, the last person I ever talked to, bank teller. And I just started going backwards and I trying to identify all these people in this chain of events that led from zero clients to getting paid, and wrote them all down. I identified about 43 different people. There's actually a lot more than that now that I know about the business, but I knew that there'd be somebody in this chain of people that would care if I did a good job on their roof that wasn't the homeowner. And if I could figure that out, I could change the way I prospected from going and knocking on a door, which is how most roofing companies build their business, to working with referrals. And that opened the floodgates. So I identified out of all these people, there was one person that came to mind as the most important person in this chain event besides the homeowner, and that was an insurance agent. They were involved in every single transaction in some way. So then I spent a whole bunch of time. Once I knew that, I knew I could eliminate probably 80% of my competition by just prospecting with an insurance agent who might have a book of business of 300 people, 3,500 people. I really don't know, but it's not a 1-to-1 ratio anymore. And then I had to understand why they would work with me, because all the competitive advantages don't exist in the roofing world. And I spent about 40 hours just trying to understand how a insurance agent, independent agent could build their book of business. And I worked on building a plan to help them with their clients, and really wanted to position myself to help them look like a hero in working with their clients and why they would refer to me. So that's in essence the fundamental component of how we started this company. There's a few other things that were important, I think, to really highlight. Is I understood fundamentally where the problems were, because before I started this company, I was a general manager at another organization. That organization was a roofing company that did things besides roofs. They did windows and siding and kind of like a general contractor. And in analyzing every job that we did, what I discovered was we did really well in roofs and gutters, and we had very few complaints, and we could do it quickly. We could get paid quickly, which mattered. It really matters. And we could have happy clients. Then when we started adding things on that we were not particularly good at, where we had to start relying on other subs, like say a window person or something like that, that's where the complaints started happening. And also the profitability went way down because I had punch lists and I had this and that, and I had customer complaints because so-and-so window broke 3 times.
Yeah.
And so when we started Just Roofs and Gutters, I started again from the idea of, okay, I could raise the bar over here by running a good business. I could eliminate the things that we are not particularly good at and isolate the things that we were that made our customers happy and made us profitable. And I named the company Just Roofs and Gutters specifically so that everybody knows what we do, including us. We, because we still get requests. Hey, can you do our siding? Well, we're Just Roofs and Gutters. That's what we do. But we have partners out there that we know, like, and trust, and we're happy to refer that partner to you that'll do a much better job of taking care of you. And we started the company with that approach. We're still in that same realm. We haven't deviated from that. And we also had a mission. We're a mission-centered company, and that mission is probably the most important component of what we do. Our mission is to create an environment where our teammates can become financially independent and have lifestyle freedom. Why is that so important? Because it helps us make decisions. We know that the company runs on that mission. So when it comes time to maybe identify a new program, okay, so we ask ourselves, does that help our project managers make more money or save time? If the answer is yes to one of those, we'll evaluate the program a little further. If the answer is no to both, that program is dead. We don't even launch it. Why is that so important for our clients and our success? Well, turnover, as we know, is expensive. If I hire somebody, the cost of bringing somebody on, training them, and having them leave the company is expensive. Internally, that's devastating. It's also bad for our clients because since we build our organization on referrals and networking and relationships with referral partners, the continuity of having the same project manager throughout for the years down the road builds confidence in our referral sources. So, uh, for instance, Brady is one of our guys. There's a very strong possibility, like a very high percentage, that he's going to be with us for the entire rest of his career because we've helped him make money and we've helped him have lifestyle freedom. And that's very good for our referral sources and our clients and the continuity and having extraordinary people work for our company.
It's very interesting, right? Like, I guess, obviously there was, sorry, but there was a lot that you mentioned, right? But if I have to take a few things, was like the way that you sort of approached or like you thought about the business, it's something that most of the people really miss out on. The second, obviously, thinking about your people and making sure that you have a great bunch of people, but at the same time, they are also like they're not just people that are giving you service, but you are sort of treating them as a part of your family and looking after them. And then again, right, like I guess understanding your business to the core in a way that, okay, maybe there are certain things that are not there are things that I can't really make them as an advantage, but maybe the complete process is something that can be governed in a particular way that there is a complete overall competitive advantage of the package, right? Like maybe not individually, but maybe the package is something that people are not really providing. Like one of the biggest things that you mentioned in the first part was that people are not really answering the calls, right? Like which is at times it feels like why is someone even not doing that. Obviously there might be a reason, but point is we are like people are then just missing out on bucks on the table
Mm-hmm.
and for someone else to just take away that. Because like one of the things that even I learned, right, like again I don't have that much of an experience, but in the last more than 5 years is like it's been 6 years I mean the digital marketing space. But one thing that I've realized in the last 6 to 8 months is there were lots of people that sort of came into our pipeline. They were not we were not able to close them because maybe they were not interested, they changed their plans, the costing wasn't good enough for them at that particular time, and all of that. But in the last 6 or maybe 8 months, I started with the process of reaching out to everyone that was a part of my pipeline. And I was like, I'll reach out to them irrespective of whatever happens. And my sort of an approach will be, if they say no, don't contact me back, only then I will stop. Otherwise I'll keep on, let's say, putting them a reminder maybe once a month, maybe once in 2 weeks. That depends on the type of business it was or the type of reply that I got. uh, and I would have closed at least 4 deals that I wouldn't have if I wouldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
So um, that was quite powerful. Like it was very basic, right? Like I didn't have to do, there was no rocket science behind what I did, right? There was no competitive advantage in a particular way that my messages were, let's say, a lot more thought of or anything. Maybe it was better than the average, but I'm definitely sure that others would have done a better job than, let's say, sending out a maybe a more creative message, maybe a more thought-provoking message or all of that. But the only thing that I did was sending out a message in those intervals that sort of mattered. And I got 4 conversions, and those conversions would have never come if I would have stopped it.
That's such a strong point in sales or any sort of business is, the follow-up component as to why somebody may be ghosting or, the timing is not right. I think as a responsible business owner, salesperson, uh, service person whatsoever, it is our responsibility to help a homeowner remember that they needed us, because a lot of times they don't. And then, maybe it's a 6-month run and all of a sudden they do need us and they've forgotten who we are. And now they're back
Yeah,
on the phone trying to solve that problem again, going through that whole thing over and over again.
yeah,
And a solid no, like, yeah, don't contact me anymore. That one's pretty solid. Anything short of that is, really, uh, you got to do the work. And there's some statistics. I don't know exactly what they are or who cited them, but the odds of closing a sale after the first attempt versus the fifth, it's extraordinary. You probably are not going to close that sale after the first one. You may not close it after the fifth either, but the ratio is extraordinarily more in your favor if you've made that fifth attempt, six, seven, and most salespeople won't ever go past one. And in
Yeah,
reality,
yeah,
most salespeople won't even do the one if they don't return that phone call.
yeah. True. And right, I was just reading this book called the book is on sales and negotiation, and one of the things that the author says is the first thing that you need to do in every sort of a negotiation is get a no, because he's like people are not at all immune to a no. Like once they hear a no, they're like, oh, that's done. But it was like a no is all like a first no is always better than a first yes,
Mhm.
because that's when maybe the other person has thought about something. He has now he sort of knows that he has given a no, and then he, as an emotional being, he needs to do something, maybe as a favor for you or something around that. But the point was, no is the beginning, right? And you need to really understand and be fine with getting a no, because if you're getting yes, that means there is a problem. But if you're getting a no, that means you're getting into the right direction. And he was like, he frames his messages, his first message especially, in a way that he gets a no. Like, it was a very basic example that he shared, which is, instead of saying, is there an update for me? Just say, do you not have an update for me? So he was like, I just want to get a no answer first, because he was like, people tend to reply to no answers more quicker and easier than when you are sort of trying to get a yes answer sort of a thing from them. So he was like, you will get a response saying, no, I have an update for you, instead of saying, yes, I have an update from you. So that was very interesting. And I went back and I tried it for five people. Out of the five responses, five messages that I sent, I got four replies in like maybe 4 hours. And I'm sure if I would have done that as a yes thing, I would not have got even two. So
Mhm.
there
Yeah.
was, again, right, like I don't have a lot of data set to prove that. I just did it for a few days and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'm getting a lot faster replies. And some of the messages that I sent before that, also there was a message which I never got a reply from. So that's how it was.
It's the psychology is pretty amazing. And there's some of the things that I think people are reluctant. I know when I was in sales and prospecting, the emotional component that a salesperson has going into a meeting, where the chances are very high that they're going to get rejected, and that it is difficult no matter how long you've been in the your business or in sales or whatever. That still stings a little bit, right? For me, it does. And where I have had to frame that with myself, my salespeople, is we owe it to ourselves we owe it to our clients to at least guide them in such a way that they can make a real decision, whether it's with us or not, but to protect against the there's bad people out there that prey on these particular needs. In the roofing industry, there's insurance companies involved. There's a lot of money, and it's a low barrier to entry. And so we'll find after a storm, and we're in Colorado, by the way, it hails here quite a bit. And when a storm comes, uh, there's apps out there that will text. They'll text you no matter where you are in the country, and they'll say, okay, hail hit Colorado at this date, this time, and it was this big, and we're expecting this much damage. That text will go out to all kinds of companies all over the country, and within hours, if not, well, yeah, hours actually, however long it takes to get on an airplane and get over to Colorado, that happens. And so now you got this influx of potentially, not everybody. I mean, there's plenty of good business. I don't really want to say that the whole industry is bad, but there is enough bad ones that we owe it to our clients to protect them against those. by doing a good job, by presenting properly, by showing, value, helping them understand what happens in the industry if they choose a roofing company or a contractor that uh, may not be financially sound, that may be not local. And why is local not a problem? Well, how are they going to handle warranty issues and punch lists and stuff like that? If a guy comes in, sets up a shop, and in 20 minutes, now all of a sudden they're in business in Colorado. And as soon as the hailstorm's over, they collected their checks, right back off to Texas or Florida or wherever they came from. And the homeowners are left holding the bag. And what's worse is that a lot of those companies don't pay their bills. If that company doesn't pay their supply house, and the supply house cannot collect, that supply house will come around and put a lien on that homeowner's house, regardless if they paid their contractor. Now the homeowner's paying twice. They have no idea that was about to happen. And so going back to being a person who cares about others in support of doing the right thing and helping a homeowner understand what the right thing may not be working with us, but at least having enough information and knowledge about what the industry is, what a roof project is, why it costs this, so that they can make an informed decision. And generally, if they're not choosing us, they at least have enough understanding of how to select a proper contractor that may not be, somebody who knocks on your door. It might be a referral from somebody like, and trust. That's kind of the really important part of follow up, and all those other things. And additionally, when it comes to follow up, a lot of homeowners or customers or whatever will say, "Well, hey, follow up with me in 6 months." Okay, great. Put in my calendar, follow up in 6 months, and 6 months is a really long time. We found that we follow up in 6 months, and that homeowner's like, "Well, I never heard back from you. I went with somebody else." Yeah, but you told me to follow up in 6 months. Well, okay, now you've got to really understand how the psychology works, because that homeowner said follow up in 6 months, but they really expected more than that. Um, you might need to send a little email. Hey, I know you asked me to follow up in 6 months. I'm just reminding you that I didn't forget. You know, I am here for you if you need me. I'll just touch base as things go, but I recognize what you asked me to do, and that was wait 6 months. So I'm not really following up. I'm just letting you know that I know you asked me to follow up in 6 months. That alone will vastly improve a closing percentage without having to be a closer. It's just a
Yeah,
reminder. That those kind of
yeah.
things are important. And understanding
That's
what
so true, right? Yeah, like just basically the tonality of the message or the way it sort of goes really makes a difference, right? But at the end of the day, it's a very basic stuff, is what I feel like. It's just as a salesperson, as a owner, whatever your role is, but basically as a salesperson, it's your role or your responsibility to not leave any sort of a lead unless you don't really want a business, right? Like if you don't, that's a different thing altogether. But if you are a salesperson and if you're looking to close more, any lead that sort of comes in your funnel and the one that doesn't say don't contact me ever sort of a thing, you should still keep on contacting them. I have done that. I know, like, again, right, I know any salesperson who says that they have done a good job would agree to this. Like I have talked to at least 10 people in local services, and all of them have said that that's the same exact thing that they do, which is never leaving uh, a lead, someone who had interest on the table. And they always sort of, like, again, right, like I know that still people can be missed, but the point is our intention should not be to sort of miss anyone. And then there should be a process of getting those reminders, right? Because keeping everything just like thinking that you will remember everything is not possible. So therefore, you need to have some processes to a CRM or anything for that matter that sort of reminds you that you need to contact that person.
you've got to have a CRM. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the old days when I first got into sales. I've been in sales a long time. It was I had two little plastic cases with a handle on them, and I had folders in them. And folder one, or plastic case number one, was uh, January through December, and folder case number two was day 1 through 31. And I would have hand printed pieces of paper, and I would move them into the days I was supposed to call them back. And if it was falls into the next month, I put them all into March. And then in March comes around, I pull them out and I put them into my day slots. That was the old way. It can still be done that way, but I just think anybody who doesn't have a CRM of some sort is dramatically decreasing their ability to run a proper company. You just have to have it. Systems are critical. But I do want to kind of go back to something else you said in regarding follow up, and that was related to when you don't actually want that client. This is pretty important. My tendency back in the early days of sales was, um, in a psychology way, I get somebody who says no, and this is a client I didn't really want anyway. But yet my tendency was, well, gosh, I'm presenting the right program to them. They should go with me. I don't really want them. I'm going to continue to try to sell them and eventually wind up with a yes. That was never good. It always wound up the way my gut said it would in the beginning. So I think that's an important part of understanding your business too, is what clients don't you want? And go ahead and feel comfortable firing them in a way. You don't want every client out there, and a person's got to really know what is your proper client. What are the
That's so
demographics?
true. That's so true. Especially for service businesses where you'll have to deal with that customer. Uh, it's very important to sort of trust your instincts, trust your guts, because they definitely tell you that there is something that's already off here. And therefore you need to trust it, and you need to, like, again, right, like it keeps on getting better with time, it keeps on getting better with your experience. But you need to really trust it, unless you really want problems, because one bad client can cause four good clients to become bad.
Oh
So
yes.
it's really important to understand and let go of the bad ones, because they will cause more problems than they will solve for you.
It's almost guaranteed to go that way, and most of the
Yeah,
time we know it. Like I'll know it in my
yeah,
gut. You know, uh,
so true.
and also when it comes to really getting the word about your business. I do a lot of networking. I still do. And one of the things I find, I'm in BNI networks and things like that. A lot of people know what BNI is. And BNI has a good structure on how everybody in that group is to give out a, 30-second or 1 minute commercial about their business. And many times, and probably actually most of the time, we'll find somebody who comes in and let's say, I'll use roofing as an example because I'm a roofer. Um, hey, I'm Brian with Just Roofs and Gutters. My ideal client is anybody who has a roof. Well, that is not true either. Uh,
Yeah,
most people who live in a house or whatever, they have a roof. That does not mean they're a good client. But more importantly, is that vagueness, that really broad sense of anybody who needs a roof. That does not help my partners find and identify a client for me. Okay, maybe it's this. Hey, I'm looking for a client that has a blue roof that is 25 years old. Maybe it's missing a shingle. And by the way, they're insured by Farmers Agency, right? Something like that. Now, that is very narrow. But somebody in my group, all of a sudden they think, man, I know somebody with a blue roof. Wait, I got a farmer's agent that I know. Maybe that's a good connection for Brian. And now we have something to latch onto to help narrow down somebody's mind to this is a picture of something I can actually see. And now I know how to refer to Brian. So we have to teach our referral sources what we need, but we can't do that if we don't know what it is. And so we got to spend some time in our businesses identifying the client, the referral source, who it is, and that takes a minute to do that. And it takes some self searching because when you realize that your actual client is not everybody who needs a roof, and it's not every insurance agent that has clients either. They need to build a prospect for us. I want an insurance agent relationship with somebody who prospects in the same way I do. I want them to be a relationship building person. I want them to be in business 3 to 5 years minimum with 300 or more clients. That is easy for me to tell somebody to look for, and that my relationship with that agent can build strongly because they build their business the same way I do. I made the mistake early on in working with an insurance agent. He was sending me all kinds of potential leads.
mhm.
Every time I went there, uh, the homeowner had questions relating to pricing. That was their primary motive. And I thought, well, why is that? And I went back to my friend, his name is Charles, and I said, Charles, how is it that you go about finding your business? He said, well, I have a telemarketing team, and we prospecting people on a cold list for people who want to reduce the cost of their insurance. And so every single client that he would send me were sourced in that way, and they were not value-based clients, they were price-oriented clients. And I had to sever the relationship with him because we're not a match. I was a value-based business and he was a price-based business. Two totally different things.
So true. Again, right, like I guess everything sort of needs to be understood, right? Like especially for our case, right, where we sort of get leads and we need to sort of convert them, because every lead is worth a lot more than, let's say, any general business for that matter. And therefore, uh, even like the partners that we sort of get leads from, we need to understand, okay, this is the type of lead that this person is going to give. I need to treat this lead in this particular way, because again, right, like our plans are very customized, right? Like they have to be tailored towards the need. And therefore, I know there are certain, like when I joined BNI, it's been like 8 months, but the first 3 or 4 months, I was getting leads which were not at all, let's say, the right leads, because again, people didn't know that what is exactly my business, what sort of a difference I will bring in, what is an ideal client for me. Obviously, I was trying to explain that, but maybe I was not even doing a great job with that. So with time, I had to explain that there has to be a particular budget that they have, there has to be a particular niche that they are in. This is the type of value add, because at times with like my category is performance marketing. The reason that I chose performance marketing over digital marketing was I wanted to be very specific in terms of what I do. But the thing is, performance marketing is not really known to a lot of people, which is both good as well as bad. It's good because the ones that will know what I offer, but the ones that don't know, they're like, what exactly do you do, right? And therefore, I was getting all sort of leads. But then I started realizing the people that will give me good leads, the ones that won't give me good leads, or the ones that will give me leads that are good, but maybe not the ideal sort of a lead for me. So understanding that was really important, and that's something that helped me cater to the leads in a better way as well. Because there was a, let's say, if there's a lead that is going to give me $2,500 a month, I need to do something different for them in comparison to someone who's going to give me $1,500 a month,
Mhm.
because their their budgets will be different, their needs will be different, their requirement is different, and I need to sort of take them in that sort of way. So understanding your sources, your leads, like at times we run ads, right? Because we run ads for our clients, but we also run ads for us. And therefore, we have understood that the type of leads that we get from ads will be different from the one that I get from a referral. So again, right, like understanding all those nuances is really important if you want to really close leads that you get. Otherwise, you are just going to get leads, but you are not going to bring them down in your sales funnel. So yeah.
100%. And in relating to, and sorry, I thought my ringer was off. In relating to networking and that sort of thing, our approach has never been to market to a direct consumer. We don't market to the end user, and one of the reasons is fundamentally we if we successfully marketed to end users, we did not have the sales, we didn't have the staff or the people to
Yeah.
really work those inbound cold leads. So if we shift gears to people who can refer business, if we can enhance their business by sending referrals to us, then we didn't really have to sell. If an insurance agent sends us a client that has damage on their roof, uh, that the reason that insurance agent sent that to us is because they have confidence that we'll do a good job, and chances are, the close ratio in that form is homeowner calls the agent says, yeah, use Just Roofs and Gutters. They usually do. It's about an 80% conversion if they have damage. And we don't have to sell. We just have to present the concept and what's happening, explain a few things, and we wind up with a great client, but we marketed to the insurance agent. Now, with networking, here's also, I think, a really important thing to understand how networking really works. There's a game out there, it's been around a long time. It's called 6 Degrees of Seven Bacon or something like that. You can look it up on Google. And the concept is that you and I, right now, just by knowing each other, with enough questions, within 6 people, there's a string of us that would get to Kevin Bacon. So you may know somebody who knows somebody who knows, and who ultimately has met or whatever Kevin Bacon. That can be done as a fundamental component of how to set up and build a business on networking. For us, again, I mentioned insurance agents are a primary referral source. Well, how do I get to them? Well, who markets insurance agents? Mortgage people do, because mortgage people need insurance agents when they want to get a proof of insurance. So I got that backwards. Insurance agents market mortgage people. Mortgage people market real estate agents. I need real estate agents and I need insurance agents. My center point in that is the mortgage person. So how do I help build a mortgage person's business? If I can build a mortgage person's business, it sounds nothing to do with roofing. There's a really, really strong chance they're going to help me meet insurance agents and real estate agents. And
Yeah.
so I've got to formulate every meeting that I have with the intention of how can I build somebody else's business. If I do that properly, I can get a chain to a mortgage person or an insurance or real estate person. And it's, the BNI concept of giver's gain is sound and it's
Yeah.
true. And it's almost magical how it works. And um, it takes some thinking, to sit down with you today. We have to have a real reason to do so because we're both busy. If I'm going
Yeah.
to request a meeting of somebody, I would need to bring value to that meeting, regardless if it's coming the other way. And if every meeting that I do has the intention like that, and by the way, that's a lot easier to say than do. And there's plenty of meetings I've had that have had no agenda and they went nowhere. But if I really spend a little bit of time saying, okay, this person is whatever it is that they do, let me understand their business well enough to where I can provide value, regardless if we ever do business together. I can provide value for their organization or their business or their ability to sell or create referrals. And it's generally, at least for me, it's generally not, I know somebody who needs their service. It's usually I might know somebody who has value by referring to that person. And keeping that frame of mind, it's and nobody's selling at that point. Nobody is out there selling. It's all just community. We're solving people's problems, and it's a quite enjoyable way of doing business.
Yeah. So this chat has been really interesting. Like I had a lot of things that I wanted to talk, but since we were able to digress into a lot of things in depth, we were able to talk a lot of other things which were quite interesting. I still have a few questions that I would like to take your answers on, so that people that are going to watch this can get those answers, because I know they'll be looking out for them. So the one thing that I wanted to know, right, which is the type of business that you are in, it's a very need-based business, right? Like it's not like you can just say anyone that go and avail our services. So how do you market yourself in a way that when people would need your services, they can sort of contact you? Because like it's not, if you will show them an ad, they can't really buy until unless they need it. So
Yeah,
what sort of difference you bring
we
in
look
terms of
long
marketing
term.
strategy?
So I look at roughly a 10-year run. So if I meet somebody today, the odds of them needing a roof within the next 10 years is roughly about 70-80%. But I don't know when that's going to be. So I want to provide. So our primary marketing is, we call it a roof health report, and it's simply an assessment. We don't charge for it. It costs us money to do, but I look at it as an anchor and a marketing component to help that homeowner right now. And over the years, we watch the health of the roof. So the report is extensive. It's about 23 pages. It has a real value, roughly about $500-700 that you would expect to pay for this roof, and it gives an idea of what's going on up there. What the condition of it is, on and on, and an assessment of code regulations and historic weather reports and stuff like that. We'll go out there and evaluate a roof, present that report. Most of the time, they don't need anything. That's a peace of mind that they now have. So that's our say gift or whatever. People ask why we do it. Well, there's a real reason. It's because if I do that every single year over the next 10 years, there is a really strong chance that they're going to need us at some point in the next 10. And chances are they're going to use us, or at least give us an opportunity. and they will not forget us. So that's our primary marketing component, and that developed out of having not a lot of money, like virtually no money when I got in this business, and trying to do something a little bit different. That in essence would be my competitive advantage, is being able to provide that information. We focus a lot on that.
But that makes sense, right? Like we sort of try to do a similar sort of thing, which is provide a very detailed audit in terms of an ad campaign or an ad account. Because again, right, like at times, a lot of people take the audits and they can still make those changes and can get things done. But our intention is very clear that we want to provide a value sort of a thing first. We want to showcase that what we can do, what sort of a differentiation or what is our addition to your whole process. If someone who is a real customer for us, who is an ideal customer for us, they like once they will understand the value, they will definitely go for it. But if someone is just looking for an audit, it's fine. Though we have spent some time and did something, we know that the type of conversion that we still get at an overall level helps us grow. So yeah, like obviously, I guess your job is still a bigger piece because it's not just looking at an ad account or just doing research. You have to be there, do a lot of checks, and then do something. But that's just a similarity that I was able to see, which sort of helps us a lot because for any onboarding that we get, the first thing is do a detailed audit, which is free. But then it also helps us understand what we need to do because there are times when what I've seen is, as we discussed, right, that there can be clients when you can't really add value because maybe they're doing a good enough job or the type of industry that they are in, maybe let's say not the best sort of an industry for you. So maybe you can't really provide a lot of value. So instead of causing problems in the future, it's good to tell them that you might not be able to add that value, and therefore it's good to do the audit so that though puts out some time, though we are not able to get that, let's say, client, but still we're able to solve a problem that would have become a problem later down the line. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So the next thing that I have, right, which is we talked about the business, we talked about marketing, but like let's say for someone who is looking to start a new business and they want to acquire new clients, can you just break down some of the revenue streams and channels that you have? Like you talked about networking. Do you do some ads? All of that. Like, can you just break that down and maybe people that are looking to start something can get
Yeah,
some.
our approach, pretty systematic. So we started with things that didn't cost money or didn't cost a lot with a high return. That's networking. That's a real obvious one, but it's actually not that obvious. I think that's probably one of the most important things a person can do when they're starting their business. So you got to get into a networking environment. The next thing we did was we worked on brand recognition. People didn't know who we were, so we spent a lot of energy and time and money in developing brand recognition. Thirdly, is now that we've done those things, we've been in business for quite a few years now. I think coming on our 8th year, and we're now able to shift up our marketing a little bit to I said originally we didn't consumer market. Well, in the beginning we didn't. We are doing so a little bit now in a different way. We use a system where somebody can actually get a real live price estimate without having to contact us. So we're still letting people come to us, but we're not doing a lot of call to action ads like, hey, call us now for 250. We're not doing that kind of stuff, but we are doing outbound reaches. So we send out blogs twice a month, which have value and how to take care of your roof, whatever. It just that, and we're trying to be real consistent around that. Of course, we do Facebook stuff. There's always more we could do. I mean, it's unlimited with the amount of marketing that a person could do, but you got to go, I think, in a sequential order, starting with a realistic budget. What can you do if you're brand new that doesn't cost a lot of money? You got to start there. And I really think that fundamentally, no matter where a company is, that first thing you figure out to get you off the ground is still the fundamental component of your business. Everything else
True.
is add on.
Yeah. That's so true, right? Like even like we work with a lot of roofing clients. There are a few that are in the US, and obviously most of them, I don't think there'll be any that started, let's say, with ads as a business. Like obviously, for some of them, right now Google Ads is, let's say, the biggest sort of a source of leads for them. Like, obviously it hasn't built in like in a couple of years itself, but the point is it is the biggest source. But I'm sure that when they started, for the first few years they were not even doing any Google Ads.
Mhm.
So though we are a marketing agency and that's what we do, our advice for a lot of businesses when they start is, okay, we can definitely do marketing. That's what we do, right? But as a suggestion, what we would suggest is build avenues for your business which are outside of marketing as well. Because with advertising, there are lots of components that are not under your control, right? Like you are, let's say, completely dependent on Meta or Google or any channel for that matter to get your business. And let's say one day they stop. Like, is the business going to stop with them? Which is uh, not at all an ideal case for any business out there.
Mhm.
So the approach has always been to give them the right sort of a guidance. Obviously, we want more clients, but we want businesses to strive because our job is to grow their business, right? We can do it through Google Ads, we can do it through Meta Ads, but we can also do it through the right advice, which is important because even when it comes to marketing, right? Like one of the biggest things that we always keep on telling clients is you can't rely on one or two channels only. Even for digital marketing for that matter, try to add more channels. Obviously you can't just keep on adding channels and not grow the ones that are doing well for you, but diversification in terms of channels is important. And this is when things keep on changing drastically, right? Like just last month there was a complete discussion that TikTok might have to shut down. So if as a business it was completely built on TikTok ads, where like what would have they done, right?
Mhm.
So therefore, understanding those avenues and therefore different channels is really important, and that's something that we try to do, and that's something that we have done as well, right? Like we are a marketing agency, but more than 50% of whatever we generate is outside of our ads. So therefore, it's important that we also tell clients that.
Mhm. 100%. Totally agree.
Yeah. Cool. So I have the second last sort of a question for you, which is one advice that you would like to give to anyone that is looking to start their own business.
Oh, wow. Um, One Piece. I may not be able to narrow it down to one, but I do know that you have to fundamentally understand what your offering is. You got to know your SWOT, your strengths, weaknesses. You got to do that. And if you're going to market a commodity, for instance, roofing, gasoline, or whatever commodity is out there that's very price driven type of decision, you need to be able to make sure that your offering exceeds the cost, your value exceeds the cost of what you're offering, and be able to articulate that. That is critical. If I'm 10% higher than my competitor, why are you going to work with me, homeowner? Well, I better know that answer. I better be able to present that answer. So that's fundamental before you even start. The other thing is, man, there's an incubation period. You're 9 months to have a baby, right? And you really can't speed it up. And so there's the same in business. Things just take some time, and people they I think they quit. They'll quit right before because that analogy, which actually nauseates me a little bit, but it's actually true of priming the pump. You're pumping, pumping, pumping. You don't have there's nothing happening, and all of a sudden there is. That is a lot about how business works. It's really hard. You have to be really organized. You have to really watch your finances. You have to understand that things just take time. You just can't beat it. You might get lucky and you might compress it a little bit, but there's a time to go from zero to $1 million or 10 million or whatever your goals are. No matter how much of a BHAG goal, big, hairy, audacious goal you have, you can't beat time. Got to put in the
True.
work. Yep.
True. That makes a lot of sense, right? Like, I guess this is even more important in the day and age that we are in, right? Where the focus for any sort of a businesses, they want to make money quickly because obviously they have seen examples where people would have done it. I don't know the process, but basically people do, like everyone sort of sees it. But sorry, but in time you will understand that. things that are sort of built quickly, a lot of times they'll fade away quickly as well. Again,
Mhm.
right, like the point is not to say people haven't really put in the time when they sort of got a success or got money or whatever, but anything that's short lived has particular, let's say, downside as well. So building something which is for a long duration is tough for sure, but that's the only right sort of way to build a business, because again, right, it's not a hobby that you are pursuing. It's something that is going to be with you maybe for the longest time, if not, let's say, the complete life of yours. So yeah.
Yes. And evaluating, just to wrap that up a little bit, is evaluating the activities that you do on a daily basis. Not every activity has the same weight in relation to results. Reading your emails is important, but maybe picking up the phone and talking to a potential referral source is more important. And sometimes you got to make a decision which one you're going to do. Well,
True.
emails can wait. Maybe that phone call can't. And you got to
Yeah,
do, and
true.
a lot of times you already know, people really truly already know the thing that makes your stomach kind of turn a little bit. I got my day, it's all these things, and I got to pick up the phone call. I got to call this one person, and that is making my stomach turn. That's the one you got to do the most. The
First,
things that are
yeah.
hardest to do emotionally are generally the most important things to do. The easy stuff, read that email, organizing or putting things in files or deleting or whatever. No, pick up the phone or make that, whatever it is you got to do, that eat the frog first.
True. Well, that's a sort of a very personal sort of thing with me as well, which was when I started, I was like always things that were easier. I wanted to get those done faster because then I could place a tick on my diary that said, "Oh, half of my work is done." But then even the four tasks out of, let's say, even 20 that were left were the most important ones.
Mhm.
I was still completing maybe 80 to 85% of what I had to do, but those three sort of maybe mattered the most. And it was difficult, but if I wouldn't have changed it, there could have been a lot of repercussions in a negative way that I would have to face. But then I took that call that, okay, I have to start doing mm, my sales activities first. And now my first half of the day is only on sales, because that's what really matters. Like, that's what my major role is in the company. Like, as a founder, I have taken that role by myself. No one has imposed it on me. So it's a difficult one for sure in comparison to the other things that I have to do. But now my first half really was just into that. I don't like, until unless there, obviously there'll be exceptions. As a business owners, we have to have exceptions. Things have to be prioritized when it sort of happens, but still, more than 85% of my first half is into sales, and I have done that for the last 6 8 months, and I have every intention of continuing that for the rest part as well. Yeah. Cool. I will end it with the last thing, which is we will get a question from you, which we would want to ask the next guest. So can you give us one question that you would like us to ask the next guest?
Yeah. A good question for that is, how do you handle how do you emotionally handle the really difficult, scary parts of your business when things are not going well? How do you get over the emotional component to keep on doing the things that you need to do when it's the hardest and the darkest part of your business, which everybody will have, and overcome those things? That's my question.
Okay, this is a good one. Well, I would like to think about the answer on this, but this definitely is up for a question for the next guest. So thanks a lot for that. And thanks a lot for doing this. The insights that we got today, I know would make like would be really helpful for anyone that will be watching this, that have really helped me. Um, One of the things that I really got to know, the two major things that I will take from you, one obviously was the fact of, let's say, understanding the business in depth, understanding each and every component, and trying to assess what is a differentiation. Maybe there are lots of things that are not a differentiation, but you still need to analyze a market and see what you can make a differentiation if there is none that exists. And The other thing which you've mentioned, right, which as a marketing agency, we keep on telling our clients a lot more is be specific. Like you mentioned, you just do roofing, like roofers and cutters, nothing else, right? Which is, even if you get jobs that are outside of it, you just say that this is only what we do. And with time I have understood that it's really important, right? Like when I started into performance marketing, we were like, okay, let's do this, let's do that, let's do that. As a new owner, new business that you started, you want to do everything, but then you sort of realize, if you'll do everything, you might not have anything to sort of do, because then you won't be good at what you're doing, and you are now just bringing more and more elements that can cause issues.
Mhm.
So those are the two biggest takeaways for me. I know there are lots more that people will take away. So thanks a lot for your time as well as the insights.
Thank you.
Sure. So I